Money Men are joining us now, business and market analyst Seth Denson and accounting professor at Montclair State University, Dan Geltrude. Gentlemen, welcome back to Wake Up America.
Allison.
All right. So, Seth, I want to start with you. The Supreme Court ruled against the NCAA opening the doors to increase compensation for student athletes. So how does this reshape college sports?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. This is one of those rulings that I both like and don't like at the same time. And I like where the courts are on this. I agree with them, specifically around things like paid internships, computers, things like that. Student athletes dedicate their entire lives a lot of times to these sports. And so they don't necessarily, they need the extra, the money maybe to get by on a day-to-day basis. That being said, I don't like the precedence that this sets on where it might go forward. Last thing I want to watch is my Longhorn football players being paid millions of dollars, and we've just created another NFL or NBA in college sports. I don't like where this is headed.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. We were actually talking about that during the break, is that these athletes, they don't have an opportunity to work during school. So how else can they, make money? Dan, does this court ruling leave the NCAA vulnerable?
I think that it does. I think the next step is going to be, and Judge Kavanaugh kind of set it up, is that there is going to be another case coming down the line for players to be compensated. Now, listen, I'm not in agreement with Seth on this. I feel that the players should be compensated. And the reason that I say that is, look how this thing is set up. The NCAA is a billion-dollar entity. And by the way, a nonprofit organization. You have their CEO, Mark Emery. He makes $2.7 million a year. All the talent, all the money is coming from the players. Why should they be locked out of being compensated for their hard work and their talent? I don't agree with Seth on that. So I think eventually players will be compensated.
All right, so the NCAA released a statement saying, quote, the NCAA remains free to articulate what are and are not truly educational benefits consistent with the NCAA's mission to support student athletes. Seth, the NCAA, as Dan mentioned, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So I want you to react to what Dan says, and then, how does this impact their future model for business?
Yeah, so look, real quick, I'm not opposed to players getting compensated, but I am opposed to us treating it like the NBA and NFL. We got a bunch of agents in there piping this thing up, and now all of a sudden your best college universities are the ones with the best donors who can write the biggest checks. That's what I don't want to see happen here, even though I do agree with America's accountant we should be paying some of these players for a standard wage of living and things like that. Where we go from here, listen, this is a symptom of a bigger problem. That's the overall cost of universities and the profit margin that's built in it. There are almost half a million student athletes. Less than 1% are actually going to go on to play professional sports. We need to address the rising cost of college. And here's just an idea. Every dollar that universities make off the likeness of these students, perhaps they should have to set aside 75 cents to reduce tuition for everybody else. I think that's a direction I'd be willing to go here. But nonetheless, this is going to move forward in the courts. Matter of fact, let's be clear. The NCAA is meeting later this month on a ruling that 6 states have already enacted that players can make money off their likeness. So this is a direction we're headed in college sports, and whether you like it or not, we're there.
Yeah, Dan, Seth brought up a good point talking about tuition. You're a professor. Do you think that, tuition needs to be adjusted? Because I feel like every year you see, the tuition prices go up and up. I don't know how I'm going to pay for my kids' college.
Tuition numbers are just outrageous, and that's why you have a lot of people that are now looking at the return on investment and saying, hey, is college even worth the cost of the education that you're getting? Can I be just as successful in life without having to make this huge financial investment that I may never get the appropriate return on? But listen, as far as the NCAA goes, let's keep in mind that many of these players, and where the money is in football and basketball. Many of these athletes are minorities, and they're also economically challenged. Here's an opportunity, as Seth said, for some of these players that are not actually going to go on to have a professional career to be compensated. Remember, they're taking the risk of injuries and so many other things, and the hard work and the talent. And listen, let me give you an example really quickly here. Let's say you had a non-athlete that was super talented, and they got a job somewhere while they were a student, and they invented something in technology and was paid millions of dollars. How outraged would we be if we turned around and said, no, this person is a student, they shouldn't be compensated for their hard work and their talent? We wouldn't accept that. We shouldn't accept it for our athletes either.
All right, so this question is for both of you if we have time. We'll go to Seth first. So the ruling did not address whether athletes can be paid directly or profit from endorsements. So if they do, how is this going to affect the future of the NCAA? Seth, we'll go to you first.
Well, listen, again, I think we're going to start to see professional sports move down into the college ranks, and I don't like that. But to Dan's point, I don't like the fact that universities can make money off these students' likeness, but that they themselves can't. This is what the NCAA is going to make a ruling on. But Kavanaugh threw it out there that if this ends up in their hands, I think the Supreme Court's going to side on the side of the students.
Dan?
I think this is setting up for what I would like to see is dump the NCAA altogether. I think the way they've acted for years is a farce, this whole student-athlete concept. They don't care about that. They want to preserve their income stream. Players getting paid will interrupt that and will also shift the power in college sports away from the organization and to the athletes. I actually think that's how it should be.
All right. Always great discussion. I love when you guys disagree on things. I think it's a great conversation. Seth Denson, Dan Geltrude, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day.